All right, welcome to this first video. I'm very excited to jump into it. And I gave myself a word that I'm actually going to sit down and record some videos as if I'm speaking to a friend and being more comfortable in front of camera. It's been a huge challenge for me in the last maybe 10 years because always wanted to start a YouTube channel and always wanted to speak about things and see how I evolve in terms of like my thought process and what I thought about 5 years ago and what kind of process I made. So it's a video both for myself and also some of you guys who are watching right now. And today's topic is I really wanted to talk about the spiritual journey and pain avoidance and how those two things connect together, because this is one of the biggest insights that I've gotten over the past 10 years of doing spirituality and meditating, contemplating, doing psychedelics, and just diving deeper into this topic, because I feel like this is like pain avoidance and spirituality is one of the most underappreciated two things that come together, and usually what we talk about when we say spirituality and we say this person is spiritual, this person is into non-duality, this person is into meditation, yoga, they believe in God or something, which is a more of a pre-rational kind of spirituality. What we talk about is essentially just pain avoidance and avoiding pain, running from pain, trying to optimize for less pain in life, or trying to optimize for less pain in your next lifetime, or by reducing your karma and becoming more conscious and stopping the circle of death and rebirth, or even if you go to heaven, so in more of a pre-rational mind. When you think about spirituality, you think you're going to heaven and your life is going to be so much better there compared to hell, right? Because if you go to hell, you're done, right? So you're trying to optimize for reducing suffering in your life, and that's the key component. And it's one of the things I wish some of the spiritual teachers I follow and mentors I follow would speak about more, because pain avoidance is the biggest thing that drives this whole topic forward, and just the whole ideology forward. And in reality, there's many different ideologies, right? So there's pre-rational spirituality, there is post-rational spirituality, which is more like new age energy healing, being high vibration state. There's non-dual states of consciousness, and then once you evolve more past post-rational stage of development, you evolve into more like non-dual stages, which can be like every stage is a little bit less of becoming more aware that you're running from suffering, and you're becoming more aware of that, so you're kind of trying to dodge that, and you're dodging that a little bit more, so you're aware that you're actually dodging suffering and you're trying to escape suffering, but you're still going into this because that there's deeper truths that you want to discover, and about yourself, about your higher self, about your ego, and you just love the topic of discovering what's true, right? Instead of just trying to reduce suffering. Because most of the spirituality, what we see right now, is people get into spirituality because they feel pain, right? So it's more of a therapeutic, self-soothing kind of exercise that they find for themselves, which is completely normal, and this is one of the best things you can do. And honestly, if you start doing meditation, and if you start doing maybe even psychedelics, for example mushrooms on low dosage, you can get amazing results from that, right? You can become more conscious, you can reduce suffering, you can have less pain in your life because you're going to become more aware of your shadows and of the different things that are running you behind in your subconscious mind. So but once you continue with it, you can kind of get stuck in this, and this is what I see right now when I go to YouTube or in myself. I see that mostly in myself first, and then I see it out there. So what I noticed in myself, for example, when I started going into spirituality in more depth a couple of years ago, I started running from life, and this is what's called spiritual bypassing, and it's intimately involved with running from pain. Spiritual bypassing is all about running from pain. right? So you're creating this ego, which is like spiritual ego, and what it's really about is just running from pain, right? You don't want to face the pain that you have in your life, and that's why you're trying to run. You're trying to run from it, and that's why you create this only high vibes, only the right people in my space, only being aligned, So this is all about pain avoidance. But in reality, life is difficult, right? No matter how you live it, no matter what you have, what you don't have, life is difficult, and it is going to be suffering as long as you stay human, right? And you don't dissolve the separation between your lowest self, which is your ego, and your highest self, which is a relative distinction. But obviously, for the sake of this discussion, if you stay a human and you continue being a human in your life, then it's going to be really, really difficult to do that, to reduce suffering, because the point of your ego self is that you are a separate person, and there's an outer world out there, and you're basically you're always in this survival predicament where you're trying to survive every single day, and there's always external things, because you're not the only ego out there, so there's external egos out there trying to survive as well. So you're fighting with them for survival, and then it becomes real difficult, and that's how suffering is created. So to the topic of running from pain, one of the biggest things I've learned in this journey is that running from pain is counterintuitive. It becomes counterintuitive and less spiritual than actually facing the pain. And actually facing the pain it's what you go through when you become more purified, So it's the process of cleaning up, is when you become aware of your shadows, when you become aware of your survival monkey stuff in your brain, right? That you're run by these programs that, so your society has installed it into you. You're running by these programs that you install into yourself by going through traumatic experiences in your life. And then once you become aware of them, awareness has a kind of a healing component to it. The more you become aware of them, the less painful it becomes, and the more you can work with it. So that's actually the path to becoming more conscious and being more grounded in everyday life, and actually being in the now, right? Being in the now, and becoming more conscious is not about sitting and meditating in a cave. You can do that, obviously, and dissolve the separation between your ego and the external world. That's the purpose of it. But if you want to function in the society and live a full life and do things and still be an achiever, right? Still achieve things and survive well, then how I see it, the only way forward is when you accept that life is painful, and then you go through it, and then you peel back the layers of the onion, which is your ego self, and then you're just going through life. You're experiencing it fully as an ego, as a lower self, and then you don't run from pain. You accept it, and then you become more conscious from it, right? That's the way forward. And this is what creates spiritual bypassing, is when you're not ready to do this, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts, and it came largely from me starting a couple of my businesses, and having one very, very difficult mushroom trip, which had big insights into that right at the moment when I was actually bypassing a lot and trying to run from life, and only love, only peace, only inner peace, and trying to optimize for being in the state of inner peace all the time. But for example, starting a business is one of the, it could be a spiritual endeavor, right? Because when you start a business, it's so fucking difficult to do that it just forces you to face your emotional garbage and your shadow, and it humbles you, right? Because I started as a music producer, and I work as a music producer at the moment. The amount of work and the kind of internal emotional work, and probably even spiritual work, working on your ego. Actually, you can't do that. You can work on your ego, but basically becoming a new person and becoming aware that the person that that was in that spot who was trying to get clients and work with people remotely is not going to be the same person who is actually working with clients in 2 years from now, and going through it and going through a lot of emotional pain and a lot of suffering and a lot of shit, right, to get to that point. I can really appreciate, how much more grounded it made me feel, and I became a more conscious person from doing that, right? If you do it in the right way, obviously. And also I just started my other business 6 months ago, which is about client acquisition for holistic healers. This is like I thought when I got into it, I thought like it's like a level 30 boss that I would have to fight, and in terms of how much pain and resilience I have to make that happen and actually work in that sphere. But it turned out to be like a level 80, 85 boss, which I'm not ready for, and I have to like make progress really quickly. And it's not about even the systems and knowing, what kind of things to do in your business. It's not about that. It's like basically like 20% of that, right? Because you can find the systems. There's a lot of ready information on how to get the clients, how to onboard clients, how to work with them, how to deliver the results. 80% of that is just emotional resilience, and it's about facing a lot of pain and just living with pain and, not quitting despite of it. And so I've been having my very low moments, and in those low moments, you try to stay more present and more aware despite of that happening. And it just doubles down on your presence in day-to-day life, right? It's just you become a more grounded person, right? So instead of running from pain, you accept it, you live in it, you live through it, right? You live through all the emotions without resistance, right? Because when that happens and you feel a lot of tension in your life, whatever you're facing at the moment, there's two paths you can take. You can run from the pain and not face it by, going into addictions and drama and self-pity and drugs. So it's kind of a self-soothing kind of component, or quitting, for example, doing whatever difficult thing you're doing. Or you can face it fully and live through it. And then once you face your emotions fully and don't resist them, they kind of flow through you, and then they don't affect you, right? It's kind of a process of letting go of those emotions. So to let go of emotions is really to experience them fully without resistance, right? Because when you do a difficult thing, you're gonna face a lot of resistance inside, and it's mostly emotional resistance. And if you run from it, it's going to become this permanent background hum of anxiety and different emotions that live with you all the time. Whereas if you face it and face it fully in this moment, and you live through it, and you don't resist it, then it kind of just flows through you, and then you just let it go, right? Usually that happens. Usually it becomes a lot worse when you experience that. It becomes a lot worse. The feeling becomes a lot worse, and then once you're able to live through it, you kind of let it go, and it becomes a lot easier to deal with that. So that's what I've noticed, and I actually developed my unique technique, which is basically like a somatic. It's a technique that involves somatic work, so like going to your body, where does your emotion live, and meditation and breath work. And that really helped me to actually process those emotions and feel them more fully, and then integrate them and just let them go, right, without resistance. So if you're curious, I can record another video about this, because I'm very passionate about it. It's something I've discovered through my personal journey of doing many different techniques and exercises, but this one stuck with me, which I'm really excited about. Thank you so much for being here. This was my first video. I'm really excited to put it out there. And yeah, have a great day.